Then you started another company called CMS Dose, and now you're at Connect. And every stage you've been successful. And here's the best part for all of our listeners, if I remember correctly, none of them was to do with any professional venture capital outside funding. Is that correct?
That's correct. The one thing you said that's not correct is that all of them have been successful. I think those are the successful ones that you're reading about. There's a bunch more that are not so successful, right? That's what an entrepreneur does, is fail a few times first.
Hey everyone, welcome. We've got this great show. We're so excited to have you. And we have our dear friend Shaun Sorensen here. And we're going to talk to you about his background in just a second, but we're really happy to have him here. Shaun, welcome, dude. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Look at that. Ike and I are just going to have a fun conversation with you. Now, I've got these little notes here. A dad of 3 kids.
You got it.
Yeah, Shaun has started. He's always been entrepreneurial. In fact, as I was looking at your background, from being a mastercraft dealer to starting a company called American Healthcare Lending, and then you started another company called CMS Dose, and now you're at Connect. And every stage you've been successful. And here's the best part for all of our listeners, if I remember correctly. None of them was to do with any professional venture capital outside funding. Is that correct?
That's correct. The one thing you said that's not correct is that all of them have been successful. I think those are the successful ones that you're reading about. There's a bunch more that are not so successful, right? That's what an entrepreneur does, is fail a few times first. They also think that you got to go find a great whiz-bang idea that you dream up in the middle of the night. And I've actually never started a company with an idea that I came up with, ever. Not a single one out of the 8 or 9 that I've done has ever started with one of my ideas. And I think it's more about the execution and the operation than the actual idea.
I've often told people that I have a massive vacuum when it comes to original idea. All I do is focus on execution. Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah, I could steal it from a friend and whatever, and I'll say, is that all right? Can I take it? Because lots of ideas out there, but the number of people who actually execute on them is right? So I agree with that. I have no original idea, and I'm proud of it. It's okay. I'm good. Yeah. The older I get, I know I'm not. Good for you. What is it that you're working on now? What's the name of the company? What does it do?
Right now,
let everyone know.
I'm the CEO of a company called Connect. We're a text messaging platform for dealerships. So customer engagement, communication for any type of dealership, from an auto dealership to RV to power sports, marine, you name it. We do everything from the first interaction on the website, lead kind of a thing, all the way through post-sale, post-transaction, and just make that experience better for the customer.
I couldn't agree more. I actually think, and I've told this to my grown children, go try anything and everything. You won't know what you're not good at unless you try a variety of industries, a variety of roles. Don't define yourself as, oh, this is all I do. Oh, I got to find the perfect sweet spot, and I can't start because I'm paralyzed because I haven't found the right one. There is no perfect one, right?
Yeah. And also, like some people, like I believe in diversity. Like the people are great because of the diversity. There is no one way to get to the end. Like some people say you got to work in 10,000 hours and you're going to know the craft and all that. But in some cases, not knowing anything about the industry, you coming in with a fresh perspective also helps. I've read a lot of books that talked about the statistics. Sometimes you got to come in with the fresh eyes and innovate an industry that you've never been in before.
Absolutely. I mean, that for me, that was like the boat business was something I was passionate about and loved boating as a child, and water skiing. In fact, you can see my water ski there in the background still.
Yeah, I see it.
But I loved that industry, and so I wanted to get into that. But after 5 years of doing that, kind of killed my love for boating. So I don't know that you always go into something that you love to do that as your hobby. That maybe not should be your business. What I learned through that process though is I love building businesses and starting businesses and
Yeah.
finding product market fit and sales and marketing and business development. That's what I love, not not the actual product necessarily. Like I love text messaging right now, but I'm not like a text messaging nerd. I don't sit at home and like
Uh-huh.
dream about text messaging. It's just what we do as a business. What's exciting is the people I work with and recruiting and doing what we do on a daily basis to improve the customer experience. That's what's exciting.
What's your big embarrassment? What's your big pain? What was the thing that you can give us a story on? Because Ike and I can give you lots, but it's best if you share one from you. Your
Well,
turn, then we'll take
let me
turns.
tell you one thing about underdogs too. Like I think that's one of the great, I think, traits of an entrepreneur. You have to have a little bit of a chip on your shoulder, and you have to have this crazy blind faith that you think you can beat the Goliath. And that's what I mean. My favorite movies are Miracle on Ice, Karate Kid, Rudy. Like those kind of stories get me excited, and that's what we do on a daily basis. And I think that's also why I don't like raising money from venture capitalists. Not only
Mhm.
have I had some bad experiences, I'll tell you one back a few companies ago, needed money. One of the partners brought in some venture capitalists. They sat down, told us, we'll give you X amount, for 25% of the company, which I thought was ridiculous. But we were in a tight spot. And this was, 15, 20 years ago. And I was convinced to press forward. But at the last second, they came in with the paperwork and said, we'll do the deal, but we're taking 51% of the company.
Yes.
And in that moment, I said, I kind of lost it. And I said, absolutely not. And they said, if you don't take, I think it was $500,000, which doesn't sound like a lot, but 20 years ago, that felt like a lot. $500,000. They said, you'll never be able to raise this and you'll go out of business within the next 6 months. And I said, I'm going to prove you wrong. Within 30 days, we had $500,000 for about 10% of the company, and that company went on to be extremely successful and exit and all that. But that moment for me was like an underdog fuel to the fire. And for the next 5 years, I just wanted to prove those guys wrong. I didn't care about anything else, including my paycheck. I just wanted to prove them wrong. And we did. So I love the
Oh,
underdog story.
I have goosebumps everywhere. It's an amazing story.
But let me tell you about a failure. You mentioned one of the companies, CNS Dose. We were in the healthcare space and exited that company, and we're looking for the next opportunity. And I was introduced to a group out of Australia that had this game-changing genetic testing technology for antidepressant prescribing. So if you're familiar, everybody knows somebody that's on antidepressants, Prozac, Zoloft, that kind of stuff. It takes years to figure out the right dosage and the right medication to go on through trial and error, and it's a terrible process with a ton of side effects. These scientists figured out how to do it and use a genetic test with just a saliva cheek swab and tell you which medication to go on within a matter of weeks instead of years. So you would know the test results almost instantly, but then within a couple of weeks, you could get on the right medication and dose. And really cool technology. We brought it to the US for them and commercialized it here and sold it to hundreds of healthcare practices here and was going great. And everything was rosy. We did everything right. And then this thing called Medicare decided to stop reimbursing our test, or at least they cut the reimbursement by like 95%, which was basically cutting our revenue by 95%. And literally in one day, we had no revenue. So it was one of those moments where you did everything right. You felt you brought a cool product to market. It was helping a lot of people. It was a great mission. And yet, an unforeseen economic force that we had no control over shut the business down essentially. And it didn't kill the business, but it was enough for us to do what entrepreneurs do and look elsewhere, pivot, whatever you want to call it, but start looking at other opportunities. And one came along, which ended up being amazing. But that was a tough failure because it was almost by no doing of ours. So there's one example. I got 10 more like that, but you learn a lot more from the failures than you learn from the successes.
Ishan, how long it took from start to coming to that the day of D-Day, Medicare D-Day?
Oh, we were going for like almost a year there.
Yeah.
So kind of a year in. I mean, I have a similar one. The boat business, my experience there as a Mastercraft owner, dealer principal, was awesome. We were going for 3 years and setting records left and right and crushing it. And we got to almost 20 million in sales. And then 2008 hit.
Oh.
And if you think your business was hard, try selling luxury wakeboard and water ski boats in that kind of a market. So you have to pivot in that moment, and we did, and it turned into the next company that I started. But those moments are tough, and sometimes you can't prepare for them. And my learnings from that are deep. One of them is everybody's always happy with each other when you're selling lots of stuff. Super easy sales team. Everybody loves each other. High fives. You learn about everyone and their true colors when you go through something like that, and it gets difficult. I've also learned to take chips off the table and enjoy the successes when you're having them. I think sometimes we hold too long, especially in technology. We think it's always going to be good because it was good last year, and that is so not true. And so you've got to take advantage of those moments.
Two lessons that you would like to impart to our viewers, listeners. What two things would you say to first time founders who are on the course and following years behind you? What two pieces of advice?
Two. Did I have three at least? I got I
Okay, all
got
right, go for it. Whatever you want, go for it.
let me
You're
go.
self-committing, Benoy.
The first one I would say is you hear all the time that it's all about the product or the market or the timing or access to capital. And all of those are absolutely critical. But I would actually sum up my most important things you got to focus on early on are recruiting and sales.
Hmm.
Everyone's going to have a good product. Sure, your product can be better, but if you can't sell a product, you're never going to get out of your own way. And recruiting is the most underrated secret weapon of any startup ever. You have to be amazing at selling your vision and selling where you're going to these people early on because you have no money to pay them. You have no clout, you have no customers. You have you have nothing, and you got to recruit world-class people to join your cause and go into the front lines of battle with you and spill their blood every day with you. That is tough, but if you can do well at that, you can do anything because the people make the business great. And I think I've got tons of examples of that, but I just remember early on at one of the companies, American Healthcare Lending, going out and we couldn't recruit top salespeople. We didn't have the money. We weren't venture backed. We were bootstrapped, a little bit of friends and family, angel investing. And I went out and found a guy who was selling gym memberships at the 24-hour fitness. And this guy came in and we were selling software and he'd never sold software. And I described our software to him, told him to pitch me on it. And I was blown away by this guy. Absolutely incredible. Best pitch I'd heard in 100 interviews, and hired him on the spot. And that guy carried our company. But it was because of recruiting and creative recruiting that really got us there. And on the sales side, I would just add a founder has to sell the product at least for the first couple of years. I was selling day to day at this company. We've been going for almost 7 now, 6.5. I was selling for the first 4 years. And why do I say that? Not only is it important to bring in revenue, and you should be the best salesperson at your business, but you need to be on the front lines to learn what the customers need, what the market's doing, what are the competitors doing. And there's no one better equipped than you, the founder, to go figure out all of those things. So get on the phone, go sell the first 300 deals, and be a salesperson and recruit like crazy. That's tip number one. I think that's something that I've learned. Number two, vest your founder shares.
Hmm.
So this is something I learned the hard way. But what everybody does is they come up with an idea, then two or three founders get in a room and they say, okay, let's split the pie up 33, 33, 33. All right, everybody, everyone happy? Okay, great. And we go to work. And then what happens? Well, one of those three is way more invested than the others and has a lot more tolerance for pain and might even have more cash in their bank account. And so, about 1 year in, one of those three founders starts to get wobbly and says, I want out. Or my spouse says that I need to get a better job and make some money. And if you don't vest the founder shares, then one of those three leaves or two of those three, and they take a third of the company with them. And then you can't raise money with that, and you've been held hostage by that equity. Don't do that. Just vest the founder shares, including your own. You get in a room, you say 33, 33, 33, and we'll all vest over 4 years. So if you're here for 4 years, then you get your full stock, because by the time 4 years rolled around, you guys are either crushing it or you're out of business. I think that is something that aligns everybody's incentives, including investors, and is a thing that I wish I did from day one at all the companies. We do that with all the companies now and all the ones that I invest in as well. I think that's a critical piece. Number three, if I get one more, then I'll
Do
stop.
it. Do it. Love it.
One more is this: keep the main thing the main thing. You've heard that. I think that's Stephen Covey. But I think in business, in startup land, one of the biggest mistakes I see is I'm trying to be everything to everybody, or go to 5 different verticals at once, or do too many things at once and follow too many opportunities. Just pick one of them and run that thing to the ground. If it doesn't work, then go to the next one, but don't do 7 at a time. That's how you burn all your cash. That's how you get really distracted. Go deep into one vertical, one space, one segment, whatever it is, and knock that out, and then go to the next one. It'll always be there. Don't think that you're losing out. Don't have FOMO of the next segment or the next vertical, because you're not even going to make it to that if you don't focus on one. So keep the main thing, and go deep. That's my third one. I'll stop.
Awesome. I love it.
So
Let me share one other thing. I'm going for number 4 because this just came to mind, but I think this is important. A lot of times a founder thinks, I've got to go hire somebody that's absolutely like the VP of Adobe or whatever it is to run my X team. And I think sometimes we way over index for that, especially in technology. If you're not in technology, I still think this applies. But in a startup that's growing and hyper growing, and you're doing a triple, triple, double, double, you're going really fast. If you're doing that, you're going to have to replace your senior people, like your key leaders, about every 2 years. Call it every 5 to 10 million in ARR in tech. You're going to have to keep doing that. And so you need to find the person for the right stage that you're at. Don't look at the logos. Don't look at Microsoft and Adobe when you've only got $1 million in revenue, because those people aren't actually suited for what you need. You need someone who's scrappy, who's an entrepreneur like you, who will go in the trenches with you. But then when you get to scale, you hire those people as well. So you'll see the whole gamut. But I think a lot of times we think early on, I got to hire that person, but that person might be an enterprise person that you're hiring for a very SMB type of a role. Be careful with that and just stick with the people that are going to help you in the current stage that you're at, and just get prepared to continue to hire. The people that get you here won't get you there type of an approach. You've got to continue to reinvent yourself.
while you dug in the trenches, fighting alongside, then tell your VP of sales or director at that time, dude, you met your cap. I need to put someone over you, or whatever. And at the same time, keep friendship, keep some level of dignity, so that you don't look like I used you and now I'm going to abuse you. It's time to get somebody else in place. How do you make that transition to the prior person who met the ceiling? And Ike, I want to get your input on that too, because we went through that.
Yeah.
This is something that I deal with a couple of times every single year, maybe 3 or 4 times. And I would just say an overarching statement is be kind. If you're truly kind and you truly care about that person, you can find an equitable solution and a graceful exit from your business, no matter what stage you're at, no matter where they are. And I think helping them understand that what got us here will not get us there, and showing them that vision, and then showing them what's needed to get there, and showing a little bit more transparency, I think helps the conversation. But when helping them exit, it's all about being kind. And I think if you really care about them, I mean, you can, let me give you some examples of that.
Yeah.
If that's what you're saying. Like,
Yeah.
for example, from a stock perspective, you can kick them to the curb and then say, good luck, you can execute on whatever options you have vested, or you can extend their vesting expiration date. You can give them a little bit more stock. You can be kind in ways with compensation. with severance. I think the kindest thing you can do is help them find their next gig. I'm notorious for doing that around here because I think that matters. And you carry a lot of weight as a founder, CEO, COO, president, CFO. You carry a lot of weight in helping them find their next role. So go help them find their next role and be their number one reference and help them get that job. That's the number one thing you can do. But I think it really boils down to, do you really want to help them? Are you really kind? And by the way, they need to understand that you're running a business too. And if you take all the emotion and people out of it, if you continue to hold on to those people, you will not make it to the next stage. You will stagnate your growth and you won't make it there. So it has to be done. Are you going to do it is the question. And just be bold, but be kind.
For our first time founders, be where you're at, Sean, they need to exit. They need to get a few under the belt. So the question is, what contributed to your successful exits? And then between the first one and the second one and the third one, what changed? What factors evolved, or your thought process?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I'll say something else, but I first want to go back to recruiting and sales. Like, I'm not going to go away from that. Like, number one is hire the right people, find the right people, and you're going to be successful. And get on the phones or get out in the field and go sell yourself, because there's nothing that can really, change the game more than that. But maybe the thing that I would pick on is I would say, don't be afraid to change. I think a lot of founders hold on to what they did and just hope that next month it'll get better. I would tell you that around here at this startup that I'm at right now with my 250 closest friends, I think I think we probably make major changes on a monthly basis and minor changes to the business on a daily basis. And when I'm saying changes, I'm talking about comp plan, vertical selection, go to market strategy, marketing. I mean, I think a lot of times we pick something, we invest in it, we lock into that, and we let it ride for months or years. And I think you've got to be way more nimble than that and be willing to change quickly. And then your second question, like, how has that evolved over multiple exits and multiple ventures? The thing, and maybe this will inspire you if you're on number two or three or about to go on to number two or three. But the thing that I didn't know when I was on number one is that I could pick up all the learnings that I had in number one and deposit them in number two on day one. And that made it go really fast. And then on number three, pick up all number one and two learnings and deposit them on day three, and bring people along with me along the way. So when you get to number 4, 5, 6, 7 or whatever, you are at hyper velocity already before you even start, because you got all the learnings and the knowledge and some of the people behind you. And that's half the battle. So one quick example of that is here at Connect, we built a very sophisticated outbound inside sales engine at the last company, and had 70 salespeople and all sorts of people doing this over the phone webinar type sales. And we learned all sorts of things and built, great funnel and metrics and marketing to go into that. Well, guess what? We picked that whole thing up and all of our learnings and processes and Salesforce instance and custom everything. And we had that on the first day we started this company. So guess what? Sales were awesome on day one.
Yeah.
Because we had all those learnings. So I think have courage in number 2, 3, and 4, because a lot of it is just learning, right? You know how to do it. I would also maybe put a little asterisk that I recommend going into the same general business or industry that you did before if you want that to really work. Like, I couldn't pick up a ton from the boat business and stick it into the software business, but I did pick up quite a few things that have been very helpful. But just be careful, like, it doesn't always translate. So if you want the most bang for your buck on your learnings, just go pick it up and do it again. Like 2 companies ago, we did SaaS, and then this one's SaaS, and that's been a home run because of the velocity that we had there already.
The leaders who know how to work with people are the ones who consistently grow in each of the successive rounds. Yes, you can learn skills, you can learn tools, you can have databases, you can repurpose things from the past, but you're always constantly learning how to work with people's hearts and minds to keep them energized and have given them a purpose and a why. Those are the ones that I see winning. So
I totally agree. I think some of that comes down to gratitude. I'm just grateful to work with such great people, and I think we're all lucky and blessed to just be entrepreneurs and to be able to start a company, to be in a country that allows us to do that, and to have awesome people around us and be grateful for them because they're working hard and they have tough situations at home and wherever they're from. And so I think just being grateful for being in the position that you are, that you can do what you're doing and you can be an entrepreneur, it's a huge blessing. And we've all been lucky enough to enjoy it. So if you're a first time, second time founder out there, just keep going, but be grateful, be kind, and love the people that you're surrounded by because they're what makes your business great. And if you surround yourself with great people, the sky's the limit. You're going to do great things out there.
What a beautiful summary, Shaun. We couldn't thank you enough for your graciousness and the way that you've been able to share the ups and downs and the fact that you're still doing another one, right? You're actively building another business.
You have to.
Yay!
It's in your blood. You got to
Oh,
keep going.
agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
Right?
Yeah.
Got to create, like you said. We like creating. It doesn't stop.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And having formed all of these successful relationships, successful businesses with the fact that you said gratitude tells me that's part of your secret sauce. That you have been that humble during this whole journey. It's a rare thing. So I applaud you. Thank you for being an example to many who hopefully will be able to hear and be inspired by this story. Thank you. Shaun Sorensen, Connect. We applaud you and thank you for being on our show. Ike, anything else?
Thank you, Shaun. It was a pleasure. Hopefully, in a few months, we can invite you back again because there's so much more that we can share with the first-time founders.
Yes.
Maybe next time with some Thai food. That'd be great.
There you go. Yes.
Put the cameras on as we're slurping. Right? As we're slurping loudly. So with that, thanks so much.